Oh, just hang on a second.
They gave John a toy again. Oh my goodness.
I found my air horn. I'm so happy.
Is this gonna be like a morning radio show where they do that?
If I don't like your answers,
Chuckles in the morning.
it'd be great. It'd be great. Okay, Dan,
Oh
we can
my
start
gosh.
now.
Well, good evening, everybody. And maybe we'll just edit that part out. We'll see. I don't know. But thank you very much for taking time to join us tonight. It's been a long time, so we've got some energy here that's going to be coming at you. And as John threatened, if he doesn't like what you say, we're not just going to mute you in the chat. We're going to air horn you just because. So, but no, thank you very much, guys. This has been awesome. Robin checking into the chat. Thank you very much for joining us. If you are not on the YouTube one, John can see your comment, but Cubbie and I get left out. So hop over to the YouTube channel so we can say hi.
And I'll put that link into the chat right now, so it will propagate over to all the different areas, so you can just follow that. Excellent. So, gentlemen, we've all been doing weddings, and we've all, over the years, had that guest. And there's that one guest that is we need to deal with in one shape or form. So what I wanted to do tonight is basically talk about a variety of the different types of personalities and different people we've run into, and then we'll kind of talk about how you would handle that person. Because sometimes they can become your worst enemy, and sometimes they can become your most passionate support or follow. So, and it's this, there's this little tiny hairline of what separates back and forth. So for those of you who are younger and you're watching this a little bit later, or you're listening to the podcast of this, hopefully we're going to have some tips and ideas that will help you to avoid some of the problems that we have made or the problems that we have experienced, and situations that we have made more difficult by being young and naive. They're nodding for those of you who are on watching or listening to us on the podcast. So,
or if you just listen to us while you walk, like I know some people that do that.
There's people who walk. Yes, I don't understand that
people.
sport, but anyway, we'll continue on. I don't get it. How can people go so slow? When you got to be there, got to go.
Yeah, but that's places to be.
Yeah, exactly. So, Cubbie, you had mentioned right away one of the types of people that you have run into, and let's start. Let's start with that. We're going to kind of bounce around and just throw out, and then we can share if we've experienced that type of person and how we've handled it, and then we can critique how badly I handled it.
Yeah. It's that we all got them. It's that one guest who comes up and requests a song. You already had it in your pocket. You were gonna play it already, just maybe not as soon as whatever, but they came up and requested a song. So you play it to appease them, and now they're a DJ. They want to come up and give you 8 different songs going, this one, Sweet Child of Mine, would really work well right here. And so I'm like, no, Sweet Child of Mine is 5 minutes and 53 seconds long, and it is going to be like a train wreck. But it's that guest who requests one that the song works out, and now they're a DJ and can pick it. They want to tell you every song to play next, and everything's got to be next. I want this song next.
Boy, the number of times that you've had that person who had, as you say, that one successful moment, and now they think that their music taste is far superior to everyone else in the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Electric Shock Works wonderful.
I used to run into that a lot at the bar. When I was doing the bar on a regular basis, there would be that person or people throughout the course of the week who would come up there, and they knew it kind of actually, when you threw that one out earlier, Cubbie, I was thinking about that. Is I had a few of my regulars that got to the point where they knew my sets that I commonly used. And when I would start a set, they would come out, they would request, they're like, you know what would really go well with this? And I to this day, I really don't know if they were being sarcastic or if they were being legitimate, because most of the time they seem to be really sincerely legitimate that, hey, a song that goes really well with this is this. It's like, well, yeah, you've heard me play it for 3 years, and they've been in the same set. But hey, you got it.
It's it's one that you're like, oh yeah, I just try to pacify them as much as I can. When I get that kind of a guest, I'm like, oh, I'll do the best I can to get it on. It won't be next. I'm going to be honest with you. There's an ebb and a flow, and it won't be next. Or if it was the Sweet Child of Mine, that's 5 minutes and 53 seconds long. I generally just say, I flat out tell them, I don't want to give any false hope. I will tell them, I am sorry, that is just not the vibe they're having tonight, and I don't think I can work that song in. And that way, they just don't come up and ask it 3 times. So I know a lot of people will pacify me and go, "Oh, I'll see what I can do to get on." They come up a second time or third time or something. If it's a shitty song, excuse me, a bad song from right at the beginning, I will literally just be honest with them. Like, I just don't think I'm going to be able to fit that in. I'm sorry.
Dan, have you had
So
experience?
yeah, so one of the things that I've kind of gotten in a habit of, and I don't know whether this is good or whether it's bad, but it's to the point that if somebody comes up and requests a song and it's not the couple, it's not getting played next. I don't care if that song is going to be 100% perfect unless it's already loaded in my deck ready to go. I'm not playing it for at least 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
maybe potentially longer. Um, and I say whether this is good or bad, the downside to that is sometimes it goes, okay, I pacify him for a little bit. But there's been times where I then forget to play it. And then I'm driving home. I'm like, oh, I wrote that on the page and I totally forgot to go back and get that one. And that actually would have been a good song to play tonight. Oh, well. So that's kind of the downside. But the nice thing is by doing something like that, by putting them off a little bit, when you do play it, they're going to potentially, like Cubby said, come up and ask for another song or something else to maybe have you play. But they already understand that you're not playing it next, right? Unless you're dealing with a drunk person, like they're at least going to be understanding that yes, I can make a request and he'll probably play it, but it's just not going to fit as the second I want it. And I found that that tends to help quite a bit to just slow them up with what they have. Um, yeah, so we'll go there.
So I've had the situation, and I'm going to put this more to a high school situation than a wedding, where you get a kid who comes up there and they throw a song out and it hits. And then they come up and they say, hey, you know what would be really good next? This. And it's like, dang, they're right. And you play it and it hits. And after about the third or fourth time, and it's like, okay, now they pulled out Sweet Child of Mine, like song 5 or 4 or 5 of doing it. And it's like, okay, they were doing really, really well. So then you start questioning yourself, will Sweet Child of Mine work? Is this crowd of teenagers, are they ready for 5 minutes and 35 seconds of Sweet Child of Mine? I mean, it's got to really, but it's kind of good, huh? And you start really questioning yourself. And, so it can make you feel that moment of inadequacy there as you're trying to figure out. Or are they
Well,
messing with you?
and I think that's been the case. And I don't know if this fits into the same type of person or not, but the type of when they come up and they ask for a song that you're like, there's just no way. Like there's been songs where I'll load. And this past weekend was prime example. I was doing the wedding. Somebody come up, they asked for Meek Mill, Dreams and Nightmares.
Okay, so now we've changed person, but we're going to continue with your story. But this person now is the one who comes up and asks for the crappy song right away that you know is not going to work. And go.
Okay, so yeah, so and some of you are like, oh my gosh, that's a great song. I love that song. I hate that song.
Yeah.
Just flat out, I hate that song. There's no beat to it until like even halfway through, and even at that, it's like let's just bounce around
Dan
and maybe
Carpenter
even
has been on
beat.
this show for how many years, and we've never heard the phrase "I hate anything." Just saying that.
Oh, trust me, there's a lot of
Oh,
hate.
that's
But
true,
anyway,
but we've never heard you actually say it. I mean, this is as unusual as Cubbie saying a profanity.
Yeah.
That never happens, right, Cubbie? Okay.
No.
Anyway, I'm
our
sorry.
show went to PG-13 the moment Cubby came on, and
So I'm sorry. Continue that.
but yeah, so they come up and they ask for the song, and I'm and it's one of those things where I've been asked at schools for it before, and I know it goes over big at schools. I have friends of mine that tell me that I can't bring myself to play it, and I load it and I'm listening to it again, and I'm fast forwarding and I'm trying to find a drop point that I can even get into it, like to make it where I'm hitting. And I just like, you know what? I'm gonna put it on the back burner. I'm just not even gonna worry about it. Hopefully that guy forgets about it, whatever. And then the groom comes up and asks. Now, I don't know if the friend tried to get him to convince to come up ask me or what. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, it was now asked by the group. So I play it and it goes over well. And then I just have to like stand there with the crappy grin on my face to pretend that I'm enjoying this song. And again, I will say, the reason why I hate the song is because there's no beat to it. Like there's no danceable aspect to it. And even it doesn't even have the let's be arm in arm, the bar is closing, singing at the top of our lungs, drunk. Like it doesn't even have that type of a vibe to it. So someone who likes the song, I'm sorry, maybe you can explain to me another way why you like it. But that's the part, that's the one that I always have trouble with, where they come up and I think it's going to be crappy, but I kind of paint myself into a picture. I play it and then it works. Fortunately, he didn't come up and ask for any more. But
So I don't. You obviously had the one where they come up and ask for a crappy song, and I didn't want to play it for surely. I don't know if I've ever really had a time where it's been something that I was like, yeah, this is just not going to, and I hate the song type of thing, and then it succeeded. I've had some where I've been like cautiously optimistic or vaguely pessimistic about its success. Not to the point of like, it's not like Tom Petty stuff. It'd be like, yeah, no, that's not happening. You want to request something good? We're going to go to the sports album. You're going to request something off that. But short of that, I've not, I've not really had where it really worked. Outside of a high school. And again, I was just thinking weddings on that. So that's interesting because a person would feel like you're having to eat some crow there really quick.
Yeah, like
well, and let me put it this way. I don't want to say that I didn't think it would work, because obviously the song is popular in such a way that it works. I just don't know how it works. And to that point. And it was one of those where I will say the different weddings I've done, I potentially could see where this one it would have worked because there was, while the bride and groom weren't necessarily young, some of their guests were youngish.
Sure.
And so they're, I'm not saying like high school age, but like I could see where maybe there would have been some crossover there. But I just, yeah, that crow on the face is just like, and unfortunately I didn't say that's a crappy song. Like what? No, I just like, but it's not danceable.
I think
It's
I've
like,
done
well, yeah,
that.
but can you play it? Can you
I've,
play it?
yeah, I think I've done that a few
All
times,
right.
and I've actually come out and said that that's a really crappy song. Probably not a good thing to do. I need to reread that chapter of how to win friends and influence people. I'm sure it wasn't on.
Apparently, if you use Cubbie's language, though, that might make a difference. If you don't say crappy, but you say,
oh yeah, that the song is I
I
can
mean,
channel
okay,
a little bit, Cubbie.
I'm gonna
what would
say,
Cubbie do?
well, Gummy'd call a guy a little bitch for going to the groom. I'm like, you really got to pull the groom card on that one? You just can't let me get it worked in? Like, you got to pull the groom card? Like, give me a minute, y'all. That's what make me
Oh,
mad.
it was an hour later. It was an hour
okay.
later but yeah.
Still a little bitch move. This is a color commentary here, guys. That's all I am.
I could just see it's on a microphone. It says, "Hey, this is a song. It's a request going out for the guy over there. Just did this little bitch move that he went up and had to." And the groom has no idea what this song is, but it is what it is.
Sorry for those listening. I don't mean to offend anybody, but it's true. But I do have it. If somebody does request a song and I don't think it's going to go over very well, I'm like, buy requests. So everybody knows I just pulled that one out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Like you get that song request, it's borderline whether it's going to work or not. You just don't know, maybe it is a song like anything like Creed or something horrible like that, or Huey Lewis. You just don't know if it's going to go over. And I know
it's going to go
over. But I was like, yeah, by request, and then you're just off the hook because you're playing a request.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, tell me you guys don't do that. Do you guys do that?
All the time. All the time. Whenever there's something even slightly, even if it doesn't, if the bride comes up and it's okay, we got a set going and we're going. Maybe I was working from 80s. I want to hit a couple of 90s and then go into a newer song. And all of a sudden she's like, "Can you play some George Jones?" Certainly, we can do that for you. Next, sure. Hey, this one's going out to Sheila the bride tonight. Yay, Sheila. And I just cannot think of a George Jones song that I could actually start. And I was thinking there's a tear in my beer. And of course, that's not George Jones. That's Hank Williams. Sorry, my country. I'm so rusty on country.
I had a Freddie Fender request this weekend. I'm like, I am not playing Wasted Days and Wasted Nights. Not going to happen.
I don't know. That's kind of a beautiful little song to play.
Anybody, Anybody do this when they come up and request a song? I'm like, what's your name? They go, John Young. I'm like, and I look at my notes. I start flipping through my notes. I'm like, oh man, they said no songs by John Young tonight. Ugh, like that. And then like, I'm just kidding with you. You know what I'm saying? But I will like they'll come up and request a song. I'm like, well, what's your name, man? And Dan Carpenter. Oh, and I look through my notes, like, like, oh, right here. They said no songs by Dan Carpenter. And they start chuckling, and then I'm like, okay, what do you want to hear? Okay, no, not gonna play it, but go ahead.
Isn't that where that one internet meme where the catch you outside gal or whatever it was? Or
No, there is a movie. It's about car salesmanship, and he's called DJ No Request. Have you ever seen that
Oh
movie?
yeah, it's the one guy from it was a
Hot Tub
comedian,
Time Machine, and he's from Craig.
Greg Robinson.
Yes, I think that's his actor. And like, hey DJ, play something cool, and he plays like the worst song ever. He's like, hey, nobody can tell me what to do. John, you've got to find those YouTube videos called DJ No Request, and I forget what movie it is, but it is funny. Oh my gosh.
I'll have to look at that. DJ No Request.
Don't
Okay,
help him out. Drop it in the chat. Somebody's got to know that.
Yeah, somebody will find it. They know that kind of stuff. Let's go to the next person. And this one actually happened to me a couple of times this summer, but this weekend was like a multiple version of this where I had huggers, people who came up there and what they knew of me from past weddings, that they've seen me before, but it was like every time they came up to go talk to me and do that, it was, oh, I need a hug. And I've had that, with people that were just meeting for the first time at the wedding, because by the time I was done with the dinner time and after, doing some activities with them, they felt like they knew me and they were just so excited and da, da, da. But people who are huggers, how do you deal with huggers?
Dan, go ahead. I already ruined the chat already today.
I know what you do, Cubbie.
I'm
It was I'm surprised there's not a restraining order still. No, I typically don't have. I mean, I tend to be a hugger myself, but there's certain people that I'll like go in for the hug with, and it's usually the bride is a big hugger. I'll get like the parents who tend to be a big hugger. Usually the moms more than the dads. If the dads do, it's like the bro hug, right? Where you just like the handshake with the hug.
Yeah.
Like I'll get kind of that aspect. I don't have too much of that, but I also kind of keep myself, for lack of better terms, forward. So if they come in, it's kind of like a side type of thing. I don't know. I think it's the tall bald guy thing that just kind of scares them. They don't want too many don't want hugs.
I guess it doesn't bother me. They have to make the move. I'm not going to go in for it unless they make the move, But and as long as they're not too sweaty and smell good, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, well, that's kind of fitting with what Eric said. Depends on how cute they are. So it all
right. Thank you, Eric. Yes, that's also a big factor. I mean, Honey Boo Boo Mom do not need to come up there for me. I'm not all about that.
Oh, we're gonna have so many people. We're offending so many tonight. It's great. It's great. Yeah, this is just an uncomfortable, because people I know, when I see friends at conventions and such, that's definitely that's a hugging situation. But when it's kind of someone who, it's gonna flash back to this weekend, and the one lady came up there and she's like, John, and she just throws his big arms out and just kind of and it's like, okay, I'm not putting two and two together of who this person is. So they know me, obviously, because they're referring to me by name and came running over like I'm a long lost friend. I have no idea what this is. It's like, stranger danger, stranger, that kind of a thing. I might even smell their hair. Oh, Eric's in rare form tonight. So yeah, it's just
I think so. They don't feel offended. I would probably give the hug back, especially in that type of situation, because especially if like they're coming at me like that, like I think I would almost feel like, okay, I know this person from somewhere. Maybe it was like they were in a wedding party that I made a really good connection with, and I just don't remember that person in the wedding party. Like I've had that kind of a situation where I'm like, and then like later on in the night, I'm like, oh, I remember, like, your hair's done differently tonight, whatever. But yeah, like that's John, they just like you.
Yeah.
It definitely could be the situation, but in that one, it was the, hey, she came up and, hi, John, and came in for the hug. And it's like, yes, you kind of reciprocate the hug. And it's like, how are you doing tonight? Because I'm trying to right now go through who is this person? And then I saw her daughter, which I did her daughter's wedding in June. And it's like, oh, this is someone's. It's like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you since the beginning of June. How have you been? Then I don't remember names, but I could place the person. But yeah,
Randy Bart, yeah.
It's just
Go ahead.
Yeah, just the hugging part of it. Obviously, if it's a person you did their wedding. This past weekend, the wedding, I had 4 couples that I had three this summer, and it just happened to be, it was weird. There was a relation, so that explained one. The other ones were just random as far as they were work acquaintances on her side and his side. But we performed for all of their weddings this year. It was weird. So the brides, of course, we came up and hugged, and that, that one makes a little more sense, because it was like, hey, went up and talked to, I struck up the conversation with them. They say, wow, I wouldn't have imagined I'd see you here tonight. Yeah, we're a friend from work, and oh, that's so awesome. And then as we were getting, ready, it's like, well, I got to get back to work. And it's like, can we get a hug? And the hug, that one was understandable to me, because we had had a conversation prior to. But yeah, there's some times where it's like just weird. It's kind of.
Randy Bartlett, I learned this from him. He's got a short memory too. With all the trivia events that I've done and the corporate events, sometimes I have to ask people, "Oh my God, where do I know you from?" And it actually happened this last week. And I did a corporate event on Thursday, and this girl looked nothing like she did at the wedding.
Oh yeah.
At her corporate event, I said, I would have never recognized you if you didn't say something. Honestly, she was made up on Saturday. She's like just very attractive, very, like I said. And on Thursday, not even close. Like, no makeup, hair and a hat, you know what I'm saying? Like sweatpants or joggy pants or whatever. And I would have never made the correlation unless she said something. And I'm like, I'm sure glad you said something, because I wouldn't have known where I knew you from.
Yeah, even the boys made a reference to that, because they obviously haven't been doing this as long as I have. And they're like, yeah, we recognized the groom right away, but they didn't recognize the young lady walking behind the groom, which is his wife. And they're like, yeah, no, that can't be her. She had blonde hair and she had longer hair and whatever. It's like, yeah, she got her hair. It's made up differently, and the obviously either the blonde wasn't that, or the kind of the brown. One of them is different.
She's not wearing white.
Yeah, and she's not wearing a white dress, and that usually is kind of a signal. So
yeah.
One of the things I like to do, I'll just kind of pretend, I'll play it off or whatever, and then I'll go over and I'll look at the place cards, because I'll see what table they're at, and I'll look for a name that kind of sounds familiar. What was really bad was coming out of 2020, right? We're all masked up, right? I had a physical therapist. Didn't no clue what they were like, what they look like, because all we're seeing is this. And then I'm at a wedding, and she's like talking to me or whatever, and all of a sudden she realized that I had no clue who she was at
until
first.
she did the
like,
Wilson.
Yeah, hello, pretty much. She was just like, she's like, it wasn't long, but it was like a couple seconds in, and she goes, "Oh my gosh," she's like, "You don't know what I actually look like until now."
Yeah.
So, I was like, "Yeah, thanks for introducing us."
Here's my tool time moment. Funny. Okay, I've got a couple more personality types here. We can go through my list, unless you had one that you wanted to throw out there, Dan.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
I like this.
So this is Cubbie kind of alluded a little bit to this, but with the going to the groom type of thing. But that one person in a crowd, and it tends to be somebody from a wedding party, who is requesting a song to be played next for the bride, because it's the bride's favorite song, and the bride sent me up to have you play that song next. That person's there. We know they're there. How have you handled that person?
Got me. I do have something, because Mike Walter talked about it recently. How people will go up and request a song and say it's for the bride. What I like to do with my bride and grooms is set like a wedding password, and that wedding password is wedding, literally. And so if somebody comes up with a request and says the bride is dying, the bride sent me up here, she wants to hear "Crazy Bitch" by Buck Cherry next, knowing that I would never probably play that song off the cuff at all. And I'm like, okay, what's the password? And she's like, then she'll go back to the bride, and she has to go back to the bride to get the password to get it played, or it's not getting played.
Right.
Then the bride did not really want that song. The bride probably hated that song, whoever, and they thought it would,
Be
they
funny.
think it's funny
Oh,
because you
gee.
play something, that they hate, either Justin Bieber or whoever, right? And so I always set up a wedding password with my couples, and it's literally just wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and they give me that pass. And if they come back up and the bride goes, "Oh yeah, cool," they know I had their back because I explained to them in our planning meeting that I take it like you hired me to make the best tasting cake that you ever had. And Dan, your flavor is chocolate, and that might be 90s hip hop and country. And Dan, you like pop and Justin Bieber and Taylor Swift. So you hired me to make this cake, and I'm going to take all the genres you want, make the most tasteful cake as ever you wanted. But if somebody tries to come up and throw pickle juice in your cake and it's not going to taste very good, then you're not going to be happy with me. So they get where I'm coming from on taking requests. I don't mind taking requests at all. But like I said, the really obscure ones and the bride wants it next, that's going to have a password.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like that. You've mentioned that in the past, also the Cubbie, and I like that. I just wish I'd remember it. I don't remember that. It's like, oh
And
yeah,
people
that's
too, or what?
yeah. It'd be so what a great idea. It's just I don't remember it. So, Dan, what have you?
I again, because I'll sometimes push it off, even though it comes from the bride. I'll be like, yep, don't worry, I'll get to it in a bit. And then I'll kind of see where they're at. Do they go back to the bride?
Mm-hmm.
Do they go kind of hang out with her for a couple moments? And if the answer is yes, if I didn't see that they were with him to begin with, and then it's like, okay, she's over there, she's dancing with her, then chances are I'm gonna try and work that in. But I'm also gonna keep an eagle eye on what the bride does. And if she starts to walk off that floor, or she doesn't look like she's having the time of her life, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
I've also had ones where they'll say, "Oh, this was a song from, maybe not come from the bride, but this is like our song from our fraternity, like
Sorority.
sorority.
Mm-hmm.
We just absolutely loved it, right? Great. Sorry, that you just pretty much took that song way down on the list, unless it was on the request list ahead of time. Because if it was that big of a song, she would have told me about it to begin with.
Yep. And not that there can't be moments where they overlooked it and forgot about it.
Right.
And that
Right.
that did happen at one of our June weddings, is they had overlooked the song, and then they came up and said, "Oh my gosh, we forgot to tell you, we've got people from St. John's. We have to do the Piano Man." Well,
Whoosh.
yeah,
Their pants came off.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, this is I've done a few of the family weddings, and I figured this is coming at some point in time. But
Do you know that, Dan?
I don't. I wonder if it's very similar around here. There's a group, like depending upon where you're at, that will drop their pants to "Shook Me All Night Long."
Okay, didn't do
So
that one, but
they're
Piano
like
Man up here for St. John's and the female Catholic school, college. It's a big thing.
yeah, they
so like during the song they just drop them, or
yeah,
what?
Yeah, they get the big circle.
the bride and groom can be in the center of the circle, and then at some point in time, it used to be that they would wait to about halfway through the song and they drop pants. Now it's like as soon as the opening licks of the keyboard are going, somebody's undoing their belt, and the pants are on their ankles before the circle's even made. Like,
He's right there like his pants.
it's like, dude, you're a little too excited to drop trowel. I'm just gonna say it. Just a little too excited for that. I mean, I know you've got your nice underoos on, but
You Midwesters, I'm telling you.
yeah,
It's yeah. I knew exactly where John was going with that
yeah,
when he said Piano Man
yeah,
from St. John's.
yeah, exactly. So,
Casey, I don't know if you're late. Considering some of the stuff we talked about just now,
yeah.
you're right on time.
Oh, wait a second. He did. Yeah, they missed.
I'll,
There we go. Now, I brought you up to speed. Thank you. Okay, so our next guest is the one that needs to use the microphone. They just need to use the microphone. Well, what do you need it for? I'm great at singing this song. Everybody loves it when I sing along to this song. Can I have the microphone? Or I need to make an announcement for the bride and groom right now. Okay, how do you deal with that person?
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
Simply put, no. I do have a playoff that I do a little bit. Because a lot of times by the time that is happening, I've got the sound system cranking. And I just tell them, I'm like, so I'm sorry. If you take the microphone out there, it's going to feedback like crazy. So no. Or and this is actually that happened this past weekend. They came up, the one guy came up, I need the mic to make an announcement. No. Well, can you make the announcement? What is it? Well, we need to get all these guys together for a picture. Oh, yeah, sure. Here, hang on a second. Like it was because it was like not a big deal. But yeah, if they're asking for it, no. And why not? Because I've already have an approved list of who gets the microphone or the feedback.
Never, never do they touch the mic. And it's just a matter of if I do it for you, I got to do it for 20 other people. And then it just becomes just crazy. And it just never is. They just don't want the bride and groom to want anybody else talking on the mic.
But I'm her best friend since kindergarten. You can tell the other ones no. You don't have to tell me no.
Oh, she was at your wedding too? Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I let her talk on the mic at my wedding.
Oh man. Yeah, my methodology is basically when they want to make an announcement. First off, there's no singing. I do not allow that because it's like these microphones are not the elements of these microphones are not designed for singing. They're only designed for speech. And if you sing, you're going to sound terrible in my microphones. Oh, okay. We don't want to sound bad. You're right. But it's the announcement ones that, hey, I need to make an announcement. Oh, yeah. What would you like to say? Well, I can make the announcement. It's like the bride and groom preferred that any announcements to be made would be made by myself because that way I can go and catch everyone's attention because I've kind of got a grasp of how to do that. Oh, yeah, that's right. You did a nice job with that. Okay, great. What was your announcement? Oh, that you want to auction off the best man because he's the sexy son of a so and so. That's an announcement that's probably not going to be made. Thank you. True story.
Yeah.
That was 2 weddings ago.
Oh,
It's like, really? Well, you want to auction off? Because she didn't say it was a sexy so and so. She went and he's a sexy son of a. Yeah, you kind of got, I mean, Cubbie would say it, but I'm going to be too much of a gentleman to say it because Minnesota nice.
yeah.
Iowa what?
Yeah, Iowa. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll figure that one out. So yeah, it's the I after the head table use of the microphone, no one touches my microphones. It's basically once I pull that second mic back in, it's ours, or as far as nobody touches it. I don't even like letting anyone use because I use 2 wireless microphones during the dinner time. I don't like to let anyone even touch my microphone. I would prefer everyone uses the other one and then mine. And then at the end of the show, we've got those foam windscreens on those, and I just swap those out from show to show so they have time enough to decontaminate themselves or whatever, and off we go. So, okay, next person is that person who basically wants you to play a song like Shots, and it tends to be Shots for at least me up here. Is that they come up and they're like, the bartender's bringing shots out, and I need you to play shots right now. Or they're bringing out tequila, and it used to be before shots came out. They're bringing out tequila for everybody right now, and I need you to play tequila. If there's something like that, would you do it? How would you handle that person?
I'd be looking to see if the bartender's really doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Like because if the bartender's doing that, and whether this is a wedding or whether this is like a bar type of scene, if like something's going on where that kind of thing is happening, I think I'd play into it. I'd be okay with that because it's a little different. I realize that maybe the situation you're in we're not picturing it the same way that it happened. But if I'm seeing them bringing a tray out for whatever reason to do it, um, like, you know what? Let's play into this. Let's look like because now it looks like the bartender and I are in sync, despite the fact that Johnny told me that it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
The bartender and I are in sync now because I saw that and I decided to play it.
I would have to concur. I think I'd go with it. Got a short edit of shots. I would probably drop at the same time.
Yeah, when it this is actually again one of our June weddings that happened, and they had, I think the tray maybe had 20 shots in it
Woo.
that the bartender was bringing out for the guests, but there were 40, 50 people on the dance floor. So it's like, okay, it's like I'm seeing that there's not enough for everyone to start off with. And not granted, not everyone is going to take one, but everyone was of age, and they were all college or beyond. They were probably from 22 to 32 is what was on the dance floor. So it's like I could see this stuff, and it's like, And then do I want to be? Do I do? Because the one side of the family is kind of more of a conservative side of the family, and the other side, do I want to do that? And sorry, so you start overthinking it, and it ended up just like, yeah, we'll just let the bartender do what they were planning to do. Because if they would have wanted me to do something, they would have talked to me and set it up. So it was a tough one. Which way do you go?
Yeah, I didn't know the family being conservative, but
Yeah,
even the family thing, I probably still would. I mean, they're gonna obviously knew they were gonna be drinking at the wedding. I think obviously, you can't really hide that stuff. I probably still would have rolled with it, just a short edit of it.
mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't do any mic work to really
Yeah.
draw it to the attention. Like is in that situation where there's less than there is available. If there was something else, then maybe we hype it up with some mic work. But for the most part, I would just kind of like throw it in and let it kind of run together.
Yeah, just as a quick edit type of a situation. Okay, the next person, they're out on the dance floor and they're giving you the song, the strike across the throat that you should cut the song and kill it. And yet the dance floor is full. They're out there, they can't even break away from the dance floor to come up and tell you that the song sucks. They're just giving you the evil eye and the slashing across the throat. How do you handle that person?
Cubbie gives him the 2-finger salute. I was like, I knew it. Oh, for those of you that are just listening and not looking at your phone right now, back it up and check it out. I'll be honest with you. Like I've had that once or twice, and I
Yeah.
just kind of look at them and go, no. Like I just kind of shake my head, like I look around and go, no. And if they get like a little bit about it, I'm just like look around, and I'll mouth that. And if they're still going off, I'll just won't look at them. But for the most part, when I mix, like I spend way too much time getting the next song lined up. Like I'll get it lined up, and then I'll be like listening to it and making sure that it's going together, and then I'll do it again, and then I'll do it again, and then it's like, okay, if I hit it here, like I'm listening to it like the first time through the chorus, it's like, okay, did I match my bars right, or am I going to get myself, am I off because I forget how many bars I need to use to mix this in? Okay, that works. Okay, so the next time, so now I'm listening for that. I'm too focused on that stuff that I can just bury my head in my work and ignore them if they don't catch the hint after the first or second. No.
I'm like Dan's like, I mean, it's working. What are you gonna
Yeah,
do?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there've been times where it's like you make eye contact and they're doing that, and you're like looking at the room, and it's like, trying to. And then there have been times where they've been persistent and kind of getting angrier in their looks and such, trying to giving you the evil eye, and it's like, yeah. Then I just go about my stuff and have tried to do it. And then I've had when they come up and they're like, you should really change this song. It sucks. Nobody likes it. Really? You'll have to tell that to those 35 people behind you that don't like it. Nobody likes that song. Really?
It's a shame the bride requested it.
Yeah. There was one time where, yes, it was it played that card where it's like, this is on the bride's playlist right here. So if you want to go tell her song request sucks on her wedding day, you go. You do it.
I will say this: when I've had some that had gotten to the point of like confronting me,
Mm-hmm.
I won't throw the bride card unless it's actually on her playlist. But I'll be like, somebody requested it. Somebody requested it, and then it usually shuts them up
Mm-hmm.
because even if nobody requested it, they think somebody did, and that means that if I'm going to ignore right? Like they have no credence to then ask me for a song, because if you're asking me to ignore somebody else's, that means I get to ignore yours. So I have played that card to kind of get him to back off.
And sometimes it works. Depends on the level of alcohol.
Well, yeah.
That's crazy, guys. That's never happened to me. I don't know what's happening in your weddings. All my songs are great.
Yeah, well, it's because they sometimes request things that aren't off the sports album, and when they do that, anything can happen.
I'm kidding.
Let's go to the bathroom, John.
Go terribly wrong. Okay, this might be our last one. So we got about 5-6 minutes left. So the parents are paying for the DJ and the entertainment. They've written out the checks and such, and they hand you a list of songs that they would like to hear throughout the night that are non-danceable, only for their age group, because they thought that a lot of their friends and such were going to stick around past the beginning of the dance. Turns out they're the only ones their age group there, but they've got this list of about 15, 20 songs, and they're coming back up, and that person in the crowd that's like, hey, I paid you, I want these songs, some of these songs played. How do you handle that if it's the bride and groom's day?
How early did they give you this list?
The list I've had many times handed to me the night of. And this is probably over
before
the years.
before dinner, like when you arrived, or like during the dance portion of it.
During the dance,
I'm just trying to figure out what I would do with it.
This is. I've had them handed to me like before, when they first arrive. Hey, here's some requests for tonight, and it's like, oh, okay, thanks. And I looked at it, and it's like, oh, looked at it as more suggestions. Then they came up later and said, really need to play some of ours because we're paying for this, so we want those played. The other time was like spotlight dances are over, and then they come out and they pull out a billfold and open it up, and there's this list of it's been folded up in their butt pocket for a month. Here's some songs we'd like to have played tonight. And I'm looking at it, it's like, wow, these are. This is one of the reasons why I started doing a yacht rock cocktail time, is because a lot of those yacht rock type songs were making this type of list, and you can't play those during the dance. So there we are. I've got these lists of songs, and I bet it's happened a dozen times over my career. And I've gotten these from parents, and it's like, okay, so now, yes, I understand you're paying for it, and these are songs you love. I get that. But your bride and groom and they're all their friends they're not going to know these songs. They're not the same things that they're dancing to and enjoying. How does a person tactfully handle that?
Well, I will say this. One of the responses I've seen used a lot online, because I've not fully been in this situation, and I think partly because of something that I do ahead of time. But one of the things that I've seen different people throw out is they come back with, I understand that you're paying. However, the names on the contract are Bobby and Susie.
Mm-hmm.
And so, unfortunately, they didn't give me any of these requests. And so I will do what I can, but I can't guarantee that these are going to be played. And like, I've seen that response, and I understand, but I just don't know if it legitimately would work if you have the wrong parent. What I do in advance, and this is something I took from Randy Bartlett, and I do it automatically with my DJ EP through the automation, is I send an email. I send an email to the parents that basically say, hey, hi, I'm the DJ, da, 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 da. If there's anything that you're thinking I need to be able to help the day go smoother, please let me know. And so I've given them a chance to give me that list ahead of time,
Mm-hmm.
not the night of. And so I think as a result, that prevents me from getting a list. Do I get a request here and there during the night? Sure. But do I get something, we'll say, ridiculous? No, because I've given them that opportunity and they haven't taken me up on it, usually in advance. Or if they do, it's at a time where I can work it in during cocktails. I can work it in a little bit during dinner. I can work it in
Yep.
those other times that make more sense.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts,
I'm
Kevin?
with Dan. I've never had anybody pull the card that we're paying for it, so I want to hear it thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've honestly never seen it. And boy, that would suck if it ever happened. I guess that's a really great idea to reach out to the parents ahead of time. I do get some requests sometimes, and if it's not part of the bride and groom's vibe, I will let them know that, this is not what, Bobby and Susie were looking at, or this type of vibe they were doing, especially this late in the evening, especially they come in like at 9:30 or something. Um, and just man, I'll do what I can to get it on for you, the best I can, but I'm not making any guarantees type thing. So I didn't sell myself out, but I'm also like, I'm going to try, but I just can't get it worked in.
Yeah.
Because once they see that packed dance floor from, whatever time on, and yeah, it's
Hopefully.
all the kids' music and stuff, I think they'll appreciate that their kids had a great time and probably realize that their song "The Twist" by Chubby Checker is just not gonna hit.
And there's times where if there's one that maybe was a special song that Dad and Susie, they sang along to ELO's Mr. Blue Sky, whatever. There could be a moment like that could be worked in, and that is the last time it did happen. That was my question. Basically, it's like, oh, you got a list here, great. Is there any songs in here that have a really special meaning to you that I want to make sure I hit? Because Susie had some songs already that she wanted me to hit and such, and I just don't want to miss if there's a really important one here. Oh yeah, the fourth track there. That's a song that I used to sing to her when she was when she was just a little girl, and she was trying to get her to go to bed at night, and I'd sing. It's like, wow. Crazy bitch. You sang crazy bitch to her while she was trying to go to bed. Oh wait, maybe that was a flashback to a different part of our conversation tonight. But anyway, so that was and that worked out pretty well. That worked out pretty well indeed. So X, I
We
want to
got
do
time
one.
for one more.
Yeah,
I got
go
one
ahead.
to throw out if we did. Okay. So this one actually ends up being the couple. So this may kind of skew a little bit. I was remembering back to a wedding that I had where it is a member. It was the groom in this situation who fancied himself a musician. And I'll be honest, I think he actually was. He knew, and like on a first name basis with a member of the Allman Brothers band, and wanted a lot of their music played during the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And I played a few. Those songs are great jam songs. They're not necessarily great dance songs, at
Mm.
least the list that he gave me. And so I was playing what I could, but it would like kill my floor. His guests wanted to dance, but he kept wanting to hear these songs.
I'm gonna take notes, Dan, because I've actually got this coming up here in September. How did you fix it?
It didn't. This is part of the reason why I bring
I
this question up.
didn't. That's not
I struggled with it. I'll be honest, I never asked. I worked mainly with the groom.
Mm-hmm.
I never asked him for a review because I had a feeling that he was not happy
With
with my
how
song selection,
right.
despite the fact that his guests were happy, were chanting the one more song. And and actually the manager of the hotel that this was at was part of the people chanting one more song. So like the guests were there, they were having a good time. Um, but I just kind of got the vibe that was like, I don't know if he's really
Because he really
thrilled
had
with
his
the way
heart
this
set
went
on those. Yeah.
because he was wanting more of that stuff, despite the fact that the guests were wanting something else. And maybe we could generically move it to that. The couple is wanting something different than your guests. How are you making both happy?
I it's tough. I did a wedding for the guitar tech for Slipknot, and they wanted a lot of that very screamo emo Slipknot type music. And I said I could probably do that to like the last 45 minutes, something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I said anything earlier, your guests will make a mass exodus. It may not be your aunt and uncle's favorite. They understand what you do. They totally get that, it's part of who you are and things. But I think in the middle of a dance, it'd be tough. But I mean, at 10:15, if you want to end the night like that, knowing that it's going to kill the vibe, then he hung his own party. He really wanted his exit song from the ceremony to be "Highway to Hell," um, and his grand intro song was Pantera. I mean, it was like I said, it was a very heavy metal oriented,
Mm-hmm.
but like I said, with the dance portion of it, I just said maybe the last, and that's what we did. Last 10-15 minutes, I played Slipknot and other screamo emo bands.
When I say I got the impression that it was okay that I used some of this stuff earlier, But when we got to the dancing, it was like, hey, can you play more? And when it's the person who's on the contract and is paying you and
Mm-hmm.
is and is the one of the two people that are extra special while you're there that day. Yeah.
Well, mine was a groom too. Like I said, the groom was literally the guitar tech for Slipknot, and I just, and his bride was like, "Yeah, honey, he's right. We want to, everybody to have a great time, as
Yeah.
long as you're friends too." So we just did it. We just loaded the back end, and by that time they were lubed. They were going to dance anyway, right? At 10,
Yeah.
his friends. So I just played that music for 45 minutes.
So what are you going to do in September, John?
In this particular case, it's a old time band that he is part of, and he wants to have some of that music played at the wedding. So obviously that's going to be, I can work those in the early part of the evening very well. But this is a situation of that they are, and I've had variations of this with other couples, and if they are really, hey, we want you to stick to our list or stick to the type of things we want, and that's where we've talked about this in prior shows, is that, hey, tonight Bobby and Susie have picked out the songs for your wedding and listening enjoyment, and hopefully everyone will have a great time listening to 6.5 hours of polka. Yeah, that'd be great.
I've done the same thing similar, but I was a little bit more, Bobby and Susie had a hand in everything we did. Even with the music I'm playing tonight, is all about them. So then they're going to know what Bobby and Susie wanted.
Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly. But I had a couple of those, and when you had someone come up and say, "Do you think that Bobby and Susie would be okay if you would play Cupid Shuffle?" It's like, I don't know. Let me find out. Because by that, once I basically made the commitment to the couple that I was going to follow their wishes that hard, I felt obligated to almost clear everything by them until they've given me the reins to run again. It's like, I agreed that, okay, I'm going to pick from these 150 songs. That's what I'm going to play from tonight. And I had agreed to that at some point in time in our contracting. So to vary from that, I just need to clear it. And it was, in that particular case, it was fine, but I felt that level of obligation.
But I think it goes along with our job is to manage expectations. And I think in our consultations, if we manage those expectations going into it, then the night of would be kind of easy. Like, if they've gotten you that playlist at the plant meeting and I literally go through it,
Yep.
not sometimes song by song, but not sometimes not. But I think we manage those expectations and be like, what are you guys shooting for? Do you want to shoot nobody dancing? Because I said I like to tell them I stay away from mid tempo songs, either fast song, slow song, none of that weird mid tempo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as I manage those expectations going into it, they know that I've got their best interest on, that their guests will remember their wedding. I think they're pretty cool with it.
And that was also a big part of it is we did have that conversation ahead of time. Basically, I can work from this list. You will have guests requesting things, and they're going to want other things because they're used to, that conversation of that. There's some guests who are only going to 3 weddings this year, or maybe 1 wedding this year, and they're going to want to hear X, Y, and Z that are common wedding songs, which you don't really want to hear. And I get that. We're going to have this conversation now so that the night of, I can represent you exactly the way you want me to represent you. And sometimes they have pulled the plug and said, our list is, use that as Troy Ackerman with his circles of thirds, or his a third of the bride and groom gives him a third, can give him a third of the request. The guest can give a third, and then the other third of the songs would be songs that he picks out in essence. And that's a nice way to be able to explain it to couples sometimes is that there's different sources of where the music can come from to create that I think Cubbie calls it a beef stew of dancing excellence. I don't remember. He's something like that. Something with food. I don't remember.
It's always about food.
Yeah, maybe a stroganoff of sweet success on the dance floor. I don't remember. Hey,
That's a good show.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, hang on a second. Okay. Now we can wrap up the show successfully. So there'll be a couple of videos dropped this week. This week's going to be kind of light yet, and then next week we get into August, and we're going to we should be back on to more of a regular schedule with we've got some Ben Stowe shows coming up in August, and then I think I've got enough shows now in our topics for Tuesdays to take us from here and beyond. And then Dan's got a bunch of Wednesday stuff he's going to be dropping. It's going to be awesome. Awesome. So, chill room, DJNTV.com/chill. The guys are going to be in there and record here in a little bit. You guys can jump out. Robin put the link in already. So, yay. Thank you, Robin. And I'm going to get things ready to get Dan and take us out.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for hanging with us tonight. And hopefully you got an idea of how to handle some of those requests, some of those people, some of those guests, and even sometimes your couples that come up and are talking with you at your event, and how you can kind of move forward to make as many people happy as possible throughout the night. Hope you have yourself a wonderful time, and we'll see you all next time.